Welcome back to the ESPN Hoops and Hits podcast, presented by Tab. I am the Scope, joined by my co-host, as always, the Grub. We're back, brother.
We're back.
We're going to talk a little bit about UFC, but currently our teams are 1-1. So, how you feeling, mate? We just come off a Monday night defeat against the Falcons.
Yeah, I was a bit upset. I didn't want to come in today because I had to face you. But yeah, mate, what a game. I don't know what it was. I was watching the game confident in cruise control, and then all of a sudden, Cousins just decides to drive the whole way down the field and win it in the end. And yeah, I don't know what it was. I just feel we were in control. But yeah, look, we'll take 1-1. Could have been. Could be worse. 0-2.
Teams like the Ravens, 0-2.
Wow.
We're happy to be on 1-1 as the Packers as well. But I guess some really big news and some really big matches for the UFC on the weekend, and it was at the Sphere. What's your initial thoughts on the UFC 306 Noche at the Sphere?
Amazing. The Sphere just looked unbelievable, and everyone who went and reports just say it was amazing. They got it right. They said the UFC got it right because they were trying to create a narrative of inside the Sphere. So there was always the fighting is what everyone goes for, right?
Of course.
But they said the entertainment inside the Sphere for the spectators there was second to none. So a great job. But did you see there was someone snuck in and they weren't allowed?
I didn't see this. You were telling me Jake Paul snuck in, has he?
He snuck in.
Yeah.
If you can look it up, he's got a beard, he's got a hat, and he refers to Dana White. He's not being allowed. He gets footage of him, couple of probably 100 meters away from him, but. Yeah, he got in, and it's getting some traction.
You know what? Even for the ego, that's an L for Dana. But good publicity is, any publicity is good publicity. So that's
Everywhere.
great for the UFC. Jake Paul put it on there. The main card: Merab Dvalishvili wrestles away Sean O'Malley. We'll get to that in detail because we've got some messages from the people. We rely on the people for this show.
Yep.
We also had Valentina Shevchenko. She shuts out Alexa Grasso. To reclaim the UFC title. Yep. That's a trilogy between the girls, and there's a pretty good chance that's going to go to number 4. And then we had Irene Aldana, who suffered the worst cut I think I've ever seen in the UFC, men or women.
Bad. Should have been stopped. Like, honestly.
It was yuck.
We talk about, like, brutal sports, and we're actually going to go into a bit of bare knuckle stuff later. Like, that is unbelievable. I've never seen anything like that. But we speak about the women on the UFC stage saying, we don't care, we're exactly like the men. That cut was the worst I've ever seen.
Could be worse. It could be worse than what I've seen from
I definitely think so, yeah.
All right, Grub, it's time for Left on Red. This is where we rely on the punters, people to text in, whether it's on YouTube, whether it's in the WhatsApp, whether it's on Instagram. And this one comes from X, and it's Warwick Shrimmy. Grasso got fraud checked by Shevchenko. Noche UFC. And this is with regards to Valentina Shevchenko reclaiming the title. Was the third consecutive title between the two, dating back to March 2023. Is this the best trilogy we've seen in the women so far?
I definitely think so. Yeah, it's a great battle. Shevchenko, for me, she's the best flyweight. I've always been a big fan of her, but that first round, Shevchenko just found Grasso's jaw many times and just put her straight on the back foot. She was lightning. I love the strategy. She went in hard, and Grasso was constantly on the back foot. Grasso, she defended well on the ground at stages. Grasso actually had her in a guillotine. I think it was the 4th round. But Shevchenko, just because she was so dominant, Grasso used all her energy. She got out, but mate, it was brutal. It was brutal.
There's a lot of working over in both fights, in both championship fights, right?
There was, yeah. But she's just quick. She's lightning quick, Shevchenko. That's what I love about her. She's in, she's out. Changes her angles, and yeah, she for me, she won it easy, but they just keep getting better. There's got to be another one.
That was going to be my next question to finish off. We're going to see number 4?
There has to be. Like, it's too crazy not to.
Lock in number 4.
Let's go.
Moving over to the man. This one's from Facebook, from Johnny Spins. One of the worst performances from a champion I've seen. So very critical of Sean O'Malley. So referee Herb Dean continually stepped in to urge him to work. That was despite Dvalishvili clearly just looking to either move around the octagon or maintain control, given he was well ahead on the scorecard. So watching this one back as well, he was so dominant to begin with in the first couple of rounds, really got on top, really worked him over. And it really didn't look like O'Malley had answers the entire fight, did he?
He just looked flat, O'Malley, and it's so unlike him. He's usually the aggressor, likes to go forward, but I heard him say one thing in his press conference. He says, it's hard to go forward on someone who can take you down so well. So he says, I usually like to close the space and get in tight, but he got taken down every round.
Yep.
And there was one thing that I really loved out of all this, Hoz, and I'm not sure why I loved it so much, but it was the kiss.
Okay, well, let's get to that. We've got a new little segment.
Yes.
Can you get that paddle up for me? All right, so on one side we have not a grub. Flip it around. And on the red side, we have a grub. So I've got a question for you. Merab kissed O'Malley during the fight. Is that a grub move? As in, would the grub do it? Is it in the grub's repertoire?
Yes.
Or is it not a grub move?
So I'm going to say grub move because...
Grub move and why?
Look, I'm not going to say I've ever kissed anyone on the footy field, but hey, whatever gets in their head.
I think you're capable of it.
I'm capable. I'm just I never thought of it because it's all about aggression and ego and I'm big tough guy and I'm bigger than you. But he kisses him and he goes, "How do I react to that?"
Yeah.
He's got him. He's got him. So it was a great move and just very interesting. Another one I found interesting, Hoz, was Tim Welch in O'Malley's corner.
Yep.
He was coaching. Coaching
Merab.
So, but then he got in trouble for coaching Merab, and I was like, how does that make sense?
He was trying to do some his own tactical, maybe a bit of reverse psychology, trying to get in the head of him.
So I'm gonna go.
Oh, you got a grub or no grub for that as well. Come on, get it up.
I'm gonna go another grub.
Another grub.
I like it, man.
Because again, you're capable of that.
Because it's not the normal. It's not your normal sort of. I don't know, getting into someone. It's out there, and I love it.
Yeah.
But yeah, O'Malley's fight as a whole, just couldn't believe it. Even the striking, like he's usually
there wasn't much, was there?
Not much at all, and he just, like I said, he took him down in every single round. And for me, on the scorecard, it was fairly close, but I think he was dominated.
I thought it was dominant.
I thought he was absolutely dominant, and it was an interesting battle of styles and what that does to fighters, because O'Malley fights so different. Every other fight, Dana White,
he's quite unorthodox.
He's very unorthodox, but that's what I think sort of got him in this fight. And Dana White actually said maybe it was because he was the big fight. He's usually not like on the big. He's usually not the big car, but maybe it drained him. But mate, yeah, I was a bit disappointed in him, to be honest.
Yeah,
I really like him, and he didn't produce.
Well, he was often compared to very early in his career the hype of Conor McGregor. So let's get to Conor McGregor. This one's from producer Shabs. Conor McGregor's empire is expanding. The former 2-division UFC champion is now a part of bare knuckle fighting championships. I'm going to kick us off with this one. Can the 6-year-old promotion manage to overcome its inherent brutality is the question. I'm not a fan of it. I think it's way too far. I love the spectacle. I like contact sports. I love the UFC. I love what they provide. I love what boxing. I'm a big boxing fan as well, but bare knuckles, it's a bit too much for me.
I'm with you, brother. Too much. Like UFC for me sometimes is a bit too much, and I just feel like having the gloves on, it's more tactical. Whereas bare knuckle, you can get lucky.
Yeah.
You hit someone with a bare knuckle and they're gone straight away on the chin. Interesting statement made by Conor McGregor too. He said people that have fought in the UFC arena before and on bare knuckle know that fighting in a bare knuckle has more weight than being in the UFC.
Of course he's going to say that.
But come on, Conor. Like you've been at the highest level of the UFC. I love you.
Yeah.
But you can't take that.
I'm a big Conor guy.
Same. Love him. But like saying that, how it's sort of taken away from being a UFC champ to a bare knuckle fight that honestly, like, you can have it on the street.
It's like when you compare it to basketball, it's like that guy that was street baller. He's a baller,
Exactly.
At the local court, like he's still got mad respect amongst the community, but going to the NBA and taking it to the next level, taking it to a UFC, there is levels to it, and it's that dedication, it's that consistency. We've got guys like that with rugby league, same sort of thing.
Yep.
Time to retire, and this one's from Instagram. Chris Stoffer, and this is regards to probably the biggest news in the NFL over the weekend. Fans and concussion specialists have called on the quarterback to consider retirement given his previous history with concussions. That is indeed Tua Tagovailoa. And the comparisons are with Andrew Luck, who retired in 2019 due to a number of serious injuries, including head knocks, including neck, back issues. What's your thoughts on Tua and his recovery from this specific head knock, and then even long term?
First things first, I just want to say this because I've seen a lot of comments about this and people just saying retire. What people don't understand is this is your dream. As a kid, you wanted to do this for so long. And for someone to just go and say, why isn't he retiring? You obviously don't understand the sacrifices that athletes go through. You know, you miss parties, you sacrifice family time. You pretty much train your whole childhood to get to this point, and people just say, "Well, retire," but it's just not that easy.
Do you think a lot of it's coming from a right place though for a lot of people, or do you think some people just maybe not the biggest fans of Tua and there's a little bit more into it? What do you think?
Well, I just don't think people understand exactly what goes into it, because it's happened in the NRL before where some great players have had to retire, and they're just not ready. It's like, for me, okay, so if you asked me, Hoz, back in the day, maybe 5 years ago, I would have said absolutely not. And because this is the thing, we know what comes with the game. Concussion is a part of the game, and we know we've got knowledge now about it. Whereas back in the day, I don't think we did. We've got knowledge now.
Yep.
And if I'm willing to go onto that field and take these chances, I know all the repercussions. But if you ask myself right now, at say 34, 35, you still got guys playing in the NRL with a bubble on the way. With knowing what's on our life after footy, I'd retire right now. But I've scratched the itch.
Yeah.
Tua's still got, he's still got that itch. He's already come out.
Mid to late 20s, still got plenty of football left in front of him.
It's so hard, mate. It's so hard, and I just hope people understand it. Like, I really do, because it's such a big decision just to retire from your dream that you've chased since you were a kid.
Yeah, well said, mate. I think for the most part, this is a decision for Tua and Tua and his family.
Yep.
And he knows what symptoms he's going through. He's getting the right medical advice. I think, people, for the most part, I think they're coming from the right place. A lot of people more care about the person Tua than necessarily the football player, which is great. But it is a very unique situation that I guess I'm glad we're talking about it now, because we probably weren't talking about it 10 years ago with the seriousness that we have. And I think that's great for all sports.
Well, mate, back in the day, Hobbs, when we were playing, it was seen a little bit, if you're feeling all right, but you are concussed, it's seen as like not weak.
Yep.
But it's like,
we'll go out and say, we can say it now.
Yeah,
like, you were considered soft.
You were considered soft.
Yep.
You go in on Monday and all the boys will be into you. Like, come on, mate.
I'm glad it's changed too.
Oh,
for the
absolutely,
better.
Man. Absolutely. And that's where young guys we have the knowledge now.
Yep.
You get everything, but then it's up to you to make that decision, a very, very hard decision.
Yep. And then you've got to go out there and you've got to wear that, and you've got to wear your family's name. Over there, he's got the Tua Tagovailoa name on the back of his jersey as well. Let's go to college, mate. Arch Manning, we talked about him 2 weeks ago. There was chatter around Heisman. We didn't even consider it. He comes in. He fills in for Quinn Ewers. Not only does he throw 4 TDs, he also runs one in. And during that run, which is the longest run for a Texas quarterback since Vince Young, going all the way back to 2005, he ran an average speed of 20.7 miles per hour. So going back to the Dolphins, Tyreek Hill, top speed in 2024, 20.3.
It's unbelievable.
Has someone got that wrong? What's going on? That doesn't seem right.
They have to, Holmes, because I've never seen anyone faster than Tyreek.
He didn't look Tyreek fast.
He absolutely did not.
He was moving.
He was but Tyreek just looks different speed. Like, that's the cheater, man. No one beats the cheater. But look, if he's the cheater, maybe. What's a baby cheetah? He's a cub. Is he the new cub? That's my new name for him. But look, all in all, though, this is what we spoke about at our first step. This is the pressure that Manning's been putting on Ewings, and now he's injured. Yep. He's got some sort of, I think it's an abdomen or
I believe
something like that injury. And now doesn't this just put? It's weird. They're number one. They're ranked number one, but. If Manning performs, so they've got a big 4 weeks. In 4 weeks, they play Oklahoma, who are ranked 15th.
Yep.
But then they play Georgia, who are ranked. That's 1v2.
That'll be huge.
If Manning steers them to wins in this, does he get back in?
Well, I like their chances against Oklahoma, who are a big rival for them as well. That's a huge game.
Yep.
But Georgia's the big one. And how about this? Our partners at the tab, they're all in on Arch Manning as well. He's jumped Quinn Ewers on the Heisman candidate odds. We got Quinn Ewers at $17. And Arch Manning now at $15. So the TAB think that Arch Manning is going to be the quarterback moving forward. So
they always know.
Hey, they always get it right. This one's from Facebook, from Slav Radlevsky. Going to be thousands of girls and a lot of boys in Australia screaming from Clark Range this coming basketball season. And this is off the back of Caitlin Clark. She continues to do it in her rookie season. She hung 35 points, 6 threes, and 8 assists on the wings. And they are locked into the finals.
Wow.
For the first time in a long time, the Fever. Caitlin Clark has well and truly taken over the WNBA. She's going to win Rookie of the Year, and she's a genuine candidate for MVP.
Mate, unbelievable what she's doing right now, and it's quite a nice story. So she's broken so many records. I think that one game record on the weekend, she broke it from Simone Augustus, and that was her first ever game that Caitlin Clark went to back in the day in Minnesota when she had that record.
Cool.
And now she took it over at that same stadium. So that was awesome. As the first ever player she got a photo with.
Oh, how good
when she was young. She still says she got it in her dad's BlackBerry or something like that, which is an amazing story. But so they're a big chance. I think the only team they haven't beat this year are Las Vegas, the Aces, and they're two-time the champs. So hard to beat. But like this is the thing, Hoz. She's on fire because the team haven't been in the semis for such a long time. It could be great because they've got no idea about it. They're going in, they're hot, or
no expectations.
Or do you look at it the other way? They haven't got enough, elder heads in there who haven't done it before. So it can go either way. But if she's this hot going into it, mate, they're going to be hard to stop. Yeah,
you know what it's like. New team, young team, no expectations, playing with house money. They just go out and they just play ball. And whatever happens. No one's going to expect them to probably go on it. If they do surprise anyone, then the story just continues. The legend continues for Caitlin Clark.
Builds and builds.
We're going to move on to the NBL, and we've got some huge signing news. Adelaide 36ers have signed NBA veteran Montrezl Harrell. Trez, he's only 3 or 4 years removed from a Sixth Man of the Year in 2020. He will be an injury replacement for Jarrell Martin. Martin is recovered from a patellar tendon injury. This is huge news. He is a player that can do it all. He was such a reliable player for a number of teams, including the Clippers and the Lakers.
Yeah, unbelievable. And the NBA is one of the biggest competitions in the world. And for anyone to come from that competition into our competition is great.
And Trez is only 30 too.
And he's only 30. Like, I know that's the thing, but that's what's going to be good, Hoz, because obviously the different styles of play, NBA, NBL is so different. But he's going to bring all that knowledge. He's been around for 8 or 9 years in the NBA, bringing that to someone like the 36ers. And mate, if I'm a young guy in that squad, I'd just be soaking it all up. So to play them, I'm not too sure. I think it's only a short stint.
I think so. Yep.
But hey, anything for the NBL, great exposure. If we're drawing these players like from the NBA and they do well and they like it, keep them coming.
Great signs from the NBL. Absolutely. And the growth for the NBL continues to get. You got ex-NBA players involved now, and now you've got NBA players who aren't relatively, past their best coming over the NBL. It's only good for the NBL.
It's a little bit, sorry to interrupt, a little bit like the Super League. Some players are going now from NRL to Super League to sort of rebirth their career a little bit. They can't get a run weekend, then they come back. And
so Trez comes over, does a season, just gets confidence up, gets some game time, has a stint and goes back to the NBA.
I like it.
All right, it's time to move on to the stalemate, mate. And this is where our man, producer Shabs, he comes up with what the fans have been talking about throughout the week. And the biggest one is the Buffalo Bills. Are they Super Bowl contenders? So this might be a weird question for some because for the past couple of years, a lot of people have associated the Bills with being contenders. Now, they lost Stephon Diggs. They lost a couple of safeties in the back end, and Micah Hyde and Jordan Poyer. So this one's from Ash Sherb on Instagram. He says 0 chance. Zero chance for the Bills that are currently 2-0. We've got Petkovsky Pese. They'll be competitive, but no chance. Issue is they got no safety. Going to be hard to get past Ravens or 49ers. Better depth and coverage. In saying that, the Ravens are 0-2. The 49ers just got beaten by the Minnesota Vikings and looked very human without Christian McCaffrey. I think they might have lost Debo in that game. And this one's from Alex Vermeer. All depends on what happens with the Dolphins and the rest of the division. So, a tough division. New York Jets get a win in that division as well. Uncertainty around Tua opens it up for the Bills. What do you think of the Bills?
mate, like looking at it from the first couple of weeks, absolutely. I don't think anyone stood out, Hoz. Honestly, I was looking over it today. The Bills are probably the standout team for me. They really are. Like Kansas City have won 2 good games, but we're used to that from them. I don't know.
They had good opponents, I will say that, the Chiefs. So they play the Ravens week 1, even though they're 0-2. Bengals are a good team, and they always play well against the Chiefs.
Yeah. But just the Bills, like they've totally changed their style of play. It's not the Josh Allen show anymore. It's literally James Cook. Like what a beast!
3 tutties.
Like come on, but that's the style now. And I actually read an interesting article about saying how they think that Josh Allen has become more of a leader because Diggs is gone.
Yeah.
So they reckon that it used to be a bit of the Allen and Diggs show. They hung together a lot. They thought it was about them two. But as soon as Diggs is gone, Allen's a more team guy, and he's coming up with more team-based actions and more team-style plays, and it's only good. It's only a good thing because I suppose someone like Josh Allen, there's not as much pressure on him now because you've got the run game, and it's not just about like looking for Diggs downtown every single time. So
he's spreading around. He's got some options there. He can hit a. He's got some couple of good tight ends and Dawson Knox, Dalton Kincaid. So he's sharing around, isn't he?
Yeah, mate, he's been, like, I think he's been the standout so far. Like, I know it's very, very early, but if you're looking at MVPs...
MVP favourite to begin with?
He's got to be. Yeah, I think he's been... And the one thing about also, speaking about their secondary, I know Tua was out on the weekend, but they took care of Waddle and the cheetah.
They did a good job, didn't they?
They done a good job. I think that's obviously a problem. But the one thing, too, that I find with the Bills at the moment, they were winning by a fair bit on the weekend, but they're actually putting in a few backups, giving them big moments, and it could come vital. We'll speak about depth for later on in the year. So, they're looking good.
Really good point. Speaking of some people that maybe let us down of the weekend, it's time to get to that unfortunate segment, studs and duds. And I don't really like to call people out. And this one is probably not his fault. But let's get into it. CMC... It feels weird to have him in a segment with studs and duds and referring to him as a dud because when he is healthy, he's one of the best in the league, but he goes on injured reserve. So got some questions here with regards to Christian McCaffrey. Samuel Argy has written, my fantasy team is done for the year. A lot of people would have taken CMC and with the number 1 overall pick, and will be furious at Shanahan that we didn't find this news out earlier, so you could potentially not pick him with the first overall pick. What players would you target to replace CMC?
Well, I already targeted him, Jay Mason.
Do you got Jordan Mason?
I got him in.
You got him.
I got him in last week. Wasn't happy with my running backs, but yeah, he had another really, really solid game. Yep. He's obviously going to be there for at least a month, you'd think now, so I got him. I'm happy. You know who we were just speaking about before. Okay. My dad, for me personally,
who?
Diggs.
Yeah, Diggs.
He's not getting much. He's not generating much, and like he was obviously going to be the number 1 guy, but Nico Collins, man, firing.
Yeah,
and I'm just not happy with his production at the moment, Hoz.
Yeah, well, a couple of good receivers with him. I really like Nico Collins. Tank Dell's got that big playability. So, you talked about before with Josh Allen, he loses Diggs. Diggs was his go-to guy. Josh Allen used to go to him all the time. Now he's going to a team where CJ Stroud can not only air it out, can also run the ball with Joe Mixon as well. So there are plenty of options there in Houston. So true. I think his productivity comes down, but he probably gets more quality. Maybe those goal line touchdowns like he got in week 1.
He got 2 DTs. But, Hoz, how do you think he's going to go about that? I don't know, every time I look at Diggs and if he wasn't getting what he wanted...
It seems a bit too much.
Kicked him out of the cradle. So, be interesting to see how he goes.
Yeah, they want to perform well, the Texans, for sure, or else we're going to hear more about Diggs at the back end of the year. A couple to look out for if you can't get some of the more obvious ones, like a Mason who's filling in for Christian McCaffrey. A couple of players I like in deeper leagues. Got to watch out for what's happening with the Kansas City Chiefs now. Isaiah Pacheco also went down. You have Samaje Perine there, who has been a bit of a journeyman. He started at the Bengals, had a year at the Denver Broncos last year. He's with the undrafted running back Carson Steele, waiting to see what happens there. They could also bring in some veteran presence. They had a meeting with Kareem Hunt, who started off at the Kansas City Chiefs, spent some time at the Browns. He's a name to watch out for, who, depending on what happens with Pacheco. A couple of players that are on rosters already that I like. I like what Antonio Gibson and the Patriots are doing in the run game. So the Patriots, Jacoby Brissett's not known as a huge gunslinging quarterback, right? They like to run the ball. They got Alex Van Pelt over, the offensive coordinator from the Cleveland Browns. He used to have the 1-2 punch with Chubb and Kareem Hunt. So now he's sort of got that with Stevenson and Antonio Gibson. And another one I like as well with the same sort of mindset, he's the number 2 guy at the Minnesota Vikings. They look like they're running the ball really well. Aaron Jones is their number 1. He's my guy for the Green Bay Packers. Yep. He's been banged up a whole lot during his career. And even though when he does get a full workload, he can put up big numbers, he's often injured. So you've got Ty Chandler, who's the number 2. I think he rushed or put together about 60 or 70 yards on the weekend as well. So I think he's even a good number 2 to have as a flex or a backup option. Yeah. But if Jones goes down, his numbers go right up. So I think there are a couple of flyers to look out for that might be on the waiver wire.
What are they saying about Pacheco? Because he's been great.
It looks like a high ankle sprain. He was on crutches after the game, and he looked really emotional as well. So
he runs very violently.
Yeah,
I love it. He's like no stopping him.
I think he's like maybe a 6th, 7th round pick. Wouldn't be on that great of money. Had a couple of good seasons. Obviously won a couple of Super Bowls. Yep. And you feel sorry for those sorts of guys when they have, if it does look like it's a long-term injury. It looks like a high ankle sprain to begin with. Anyway, it is time for the pick 6. Grub, are you ready for the pick 6 presented by Tab?
I am.
All right, before we get into this week, though, we're going to run it back. We had Cynthia Frelund on last week. We're going to look back at the tips, and it was a tough week to tip too, by the way. She had the Chargers getting the win against the Panthers tick. We got Baltimore. They lost, and that cost me my last man standing as well. I'm out of that competition. I was on the Ravens. Detroit lost as well. Kansas City get the win against the Bengals. Houston get home in a close one against the Bears. And your Eagles, lost. So Cynthia got 3 from 6 for last week in a very tough week. Let's see what she can do in week 3.
Come on, Sid.
Happy week 3, Grub and Horo. I'm back with a pick 6 here for this week's action. Now, here's the thing I want to say. Last week, there were a ton of upsets. So we're going to double down this week and we're going to get them all right. The first one is the Bucks over the Broncos. Number 2, Raiders over Panthers. Number 3, the Lions in a get-right game against the Cardinals. The 49ers then over the Rams. The Bills, who are hosting the Jaguars. And last but not least, the Bengals to get their first win of the season over the Commanders. And Jamar Chase, welcome back to Fantasy Relevance.
Oh, there we go. So she's expecting a big game from Chase, who's been quiet. We're talking about studs and duds. Jamar Chase, I talked about in week 1. He's been letting me down. Again, another quiet game in week 2. He needs to get that contract sorted out.
They're all over him, though.
All right, Bucks versus Broncos. Yes or no? You like it?
I like the Bucks. I think the Bucks are the real deal. Mayfield's career best form.
Yeah.
Honestly, the thing is, he got sacked 5 times.
Yeah,
but he's still going after it, like Chris Godwin as well. Jeez, he's a bad man, bro. He's awesome.
And the Broncos look a little bit shaky with their rookie quarterback Bo Nix, and that's going to happen.
Yep.
The Raiders versus the Panthers. Anyone playing the Panthers tick? You like that as well? Panthers look awful. They've dropped Bryce Young.
Anyone who can beat Baltimore also.
Yeah.
Raiders. What about that?
Yeah.
What about Max Crosby?
Oh, he's a beast.
He was going after him.
I love him. The Lions versus the Cardinals. The Cardinals look really good in week 2. They blew out the Rams.
I'm Marvin Harrison.
Yeah.
What a man.
Yeah.
I think Cardinals.
Oh, upset.
Yeah, I'm going against. I just think the Lions. Yeah.
As a Packers man, I'd love to see that.
Yes.
The 49ers versus Rams. The Rams are banged up. The 49ers are banged up. Who do you like the 49ers to bounce back?
I think they'll bounce back. Cup's out as well.
Cooper Kupp, no Puka Nacua.
Hughes. But then the 49ers, they struggled as well, didn't they? On the road. But yeah, they'll be back.
Okay, Bills versus Jaguars, talked about them. Super Bowl contenders, we expect them to beat the Jags. The Jags have been one of the most underwhelming teams for me for a number of years. So I'm not completely sold if Trevor Lawrence is it. I like the Bills in that one.
So Jags are 0-2. They play the Bills into Houston. There's only been one team to come from 0-4 to make the playoffs.
That's a rough start.
And
if they do indeed lose.
Evan Ingram, he's looking to be out as well.
Yeah,
and he was massive for their short throw pass game. You could see on the weekend they missed him a lot.
He killed my fantasy team. Hour and a half before the game, late scratch, hammy in the warm up.
Oh, you've got him as well.
That crippled my fantasy team.
Your fantasy all right, man?
Yeah, I'm in bad shape. Well, my 2 dynasty leagues, good. My redraft, no good. Bengals versus Commanders. I like the Bengals to bounce back in this. They are the a really good franchise. They're a good team. They'll get better as the season goes on. And the Commanders got a lot of young players on there, led by their rookie quarterback in Jaden Daniels.
Yeah, I'm with you. And then the offensive line probably didn't get enough pats on the back on the week, and they gave Joe Burrow a lot of time in the pocket, and he looked really good. I'm looking for I think Cincy will bounce back.
All right, we've got a little extra wrinkle for this week, Grub. We're going to go with 2-scorer touchdown, and Shabs has put it out there to our listeners to come up with a couple of touchdown scores for us this week.
Yep.
First one coming from Facebook, Johnny Shammy, Saquon Barkley to get a touchdown, and the Eagles win. You must like that one.
Love that one. All for it. Love it, Shammy.
And the Bilgo La Bites, Alan Lazard versus the Pats on Thursday night footy. You know Aaron Rodgers likes his old Green Bay Packers teammate. They got him 2 tutties in the first week. I can see a world in which they go back to him against the Pats.
Yeah, I like it. I think, but the one thing I like about the Pats, are competing hard. But Lazard, I love him. He's a good player.
Yeah. All right, Grub, that's another episode of Hoops and Hits for this week. Remember, you can find us on Instagram at ESPN AUNZ, TikTok. I know you love your TikTok,
Love
mate.
my TikTok.
ESPN_Australia_NZ. And on YouTube, that's where I do my best work, ESPN AUSNZ. Another great show. Love doing it with you, brother.
How good. The spear, Conor McGregor wants bare knuckles going off. What an episode. Love it.
Love it.
Talk about everything.
Can't wait for next week.
Let's go. Get us there now.
Let's go.
You win some, you lose more. For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website